What? How are you all doing? I haven't gone to bed yet. It's not actually all that late, early, given the end of the last video. It's probably like, why do I have to wear all these things on my wrist? You could just tell me the time, mate. What is the time? It's 20 to 1 in the morning, right? But my laptop is doing my Swede. I mentioned yesterday how, was it security and maintenance or whatever, keeps on causing the laptop, it keeps saying restart and then it runs check disk every single time. Scanning and repairing the C drive. Every single boot. And whilst it is literally only maybe an extra 5 to 10 seconds on boot, it's annoying the ever-loving shit out of me. I don't like it, and I don't get why. I've run check disk and all this other stuff. It keeps doing it. Every single boot, it still comes up that the drive needs to be repaired. You go into Windows and it says, dude, there's something wrong, we better fix it. And I don't get it. The drive seems fine. Against better judgment, my Asus, the software, keeps whining that I haven't installed Windows 11. Now, for compatibility, make sure you're running the latest version of Windows or Windows 11 or whatever it is that it says. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna install Windows 11, just hit the button, and then I'm going to go to bed. Now either I wake up and it worked, or everything is on fire and I'm going to be scrambling to get stuff done. That said, it's not that huge of a problem as long as I can still get files off the discs. The issue I have is potential incompatibility with the software that I use, but as I say, as long as I can get files off the disk, I have the software that I use on other machines, so not a huge problem. The main one actually that's stopping me is the Oculus software. No guarantees that Oculus Link or AirLink will work on Windows 11. At one point they said it won't, but I've been using virtual desktops, so that doesn't actually matter anymore. OS compatibility is one thing that really grinds on my nerves, because it's the reason that I've changed operating systems so many times over the years, or just bailed from an operating system entirely because an update has killed software packages. I've just completely hopped platforms just over like a software suite. So I don't want Windows 11. But I don't know why it keeps spitting out that error. And I can't realistically get away with installing Linux. Either way, it's going to open the door to another project I'm doing. If I'm having to scramble to get stuff done, I've got other things I can do tomorrow too. So wish me luck. I'll see you when the sun rises. Game over, man. What have I done? It's a gorgeous day-ish. And we're now on Windows 11. And I don't like it. Do you want to know what it is? It's basically shit GNOME. They've taken some of the flash of KDE, mashed it into GNOME, and that's it. And I'll tell you what, shit. Did it fix the problem? Of course it didn't fix the problem. Of course it didn't fix the damn problem. Drive, dirty bit, run check disk. No matter how many times you run check disk, does it fix it? No. Just no, it wouldn't fix it in like 3 seconds. So I've run some commands, had a look at the registry. all the normal stuff that would say to run check disk in the registry ain't there. So I was just like, okay. Did some other bits. Seems fine. Now it restarts and it doesn't do the check disk thing. But security and maintenance still saying that we need to restart. The trouble is now if I restart, now will it actually work this time, restart now? Because I tried this earlier, hit the restart on it and it basically did nothing. It didn't even run check disk anymore. It was like, oh no. Like my credentials just go right out the window when I do stuff like this, right? So usually it would spin up, spin up, spin up, and then I'd go, oh, run and check disk on drive C. Nope. I'm now nuking all non-essential stuff off of this machine. So my Steam library's gone, with the exception of Vegas and Rocksmith, even though I haven't played Rocksmith in ages. And I'll just start moving over other stuff onto my NAS, which is kind of packed as is. I really need to expand that NAS. And then, when I can get the Wonga in, buy another M2 to go into the laptop and just completely nuke it. The reason I want to actually try and install Linux on here, so that's why the second drive comes in. I won't just nuke, proper nuke as in completely format the main drive in here because it's got a recovery partition on it and I don't really want to lose the recovery partition, on the idea that if at any point I have to send back to ASUS, I can just use the recovery partition, send it back and it's factory restored kind of thing. I hate computers so much. I've just been reminded that all of our clocks are out by an hour, so it's not, as we thought, something past whatever that is. It's actually an hour after when I thought it was because stupid reasons. Ugh, I'll sort it out later. Time right now is irrelevant. Project. Under the sofa, the magic box. Because I've got too much shit to put anywhere else. Right. This is what we're looking for. There it is. It's a Dell Optiplex, whatever that number says. Little. Very little. It's like a DVD case little. Just shaking it about. It's almost got an SSD in it. No, we're not taking the SSD out of it. I want to take some files off of here and then nuke it. So yeah, it's a little Windows 10 at the moment machine. It used to run Linux, but it's on Windows 10 at the minute. I've got plans for the U once I find your power supply, which I imagine is in here somewhere with headphone cables by the looks of it. TurboGrafx Mini, like that. HDMI switch, Pi cables, Pixel 4a 5G box. Hello. Oh, hang on. Out of factory. Pine phone! Oh, I'm keeping you out too. Right, Pine phone. Linux smartphone, we'll keep that out. Yeah, right, I'm just going to dig through here and find power supplies. Are you the one that was broken? I had one of you that was completely knackered, but for some reason I kept you. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm going to find the power to Tiny there. I live in organised chaos. It's funny actually, because I just found I've just found a 1+1 in that box. Audio interfaces, you name it, it's there. It's there. Xbox Connect, all that kind of stuff. If anyone's, oh mate, you want full body track and Xbox Connect, you can do. No. Right. I have like bags and boxes for everything. This is the house where you can lose an entire keyboard. Oh no, I lost that Raspberry Pi one, didn't I? I've lost an entire white mechanical keyboard as well. Like, I don't know where it is. It was supposed to live in one of my laptop bags. As I say, I have bags pre-prepped so that if someone says, this is what we need to do, I just go, grab, and then off we go to what needs to be done, right? For some reason the keyboard isn't in that bag, which has now annoyed me. But there's a bag for that little tiny machine. Further along the magical sofa. Hang on. No. There we go. Backpack. And in this backpack there should be a knot tied in it. No. One of my Linux laptops. Love this little laptop. Lenovo X230, which we got with. The BIOS was locked. Got past that. Silly. Mechanical keyboard. Should be a mouse in here and a bunch of Raspberry Pis and stuff. You can't see, but there's loads of stuff in there. This is me Linux bag. One of my Linux dash bags. Should be like mice and memory sticks. There's capture cards in here, but lower end than some of the other stuff that I use. Webcams and stuff. Just stuff. Got a full kit in here. This is going to go in here, I think. Maybe. Possibly. We'll see. Oh, mate, the Pine phone's got an update. And now I found where my 3 mobile SIM card was. Look at that go! I mean, surprised it's got a system upgrade. It bloody well should do, considering I haven't turned it on in ages. I only went into that bag to bust out a mouse and keyboard. And story of my life, there was no cable for the keyboard. I think the white keyboard I lost, that came with a really crappy USB cable. Like, it came with one of those, like, you know the regular end of a USB cable, right? Like a regular USB. Right? It was one of those, but it was double-sided, and it would never stay seated in a USB port. So I think I just yanked the cable for this one and put it with that, and then now the keyboard has just gone missing for whatever reason. So there's always key little pieces that just kind of disappear with me. I've recently had to buy another universal dongle for this Logitech K400 Plus. Shouldn't have had to have done it. The dongle should have been inside the thing. It was connected up to one of the machines. It's just up and floated. So, hooked up. Should be Windows 10 on that little box, I think. Does this have a light on? I don't remember. Oh, it does! Yay! Boot! Come on, you beauty! Yeah, yes, Dell. Yeah. 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 Hey! Is that really the time? Is that really the date? Who can be sure? Just having a little dig around on the drive, and it's largely empty. It's only got a little, like 120 gig SSD in it. It's got just setup files to set up OBS and XSplit, Discord, that kind of stuff. I have found a nice copy of Police Noughts, the Sega Saturn game, on here. Some little audio files and some test videos just to see what this little box was capable of. And it's just got a well old setup of one of my old live stream layouts on it. I say one of my live stream layouts. It's a layout from XSplit. XSplit came with a bunch of presets, and I just moved one of them over to OBS. But this is the thing. I just want to throw that's really weird to see, like, my backgrounds just now move between. That's Belial, by the way, the character. It's Belial. there's my PC Belial. So if Belial had a face, that would be it. So yeah, it's just be right back. Starting soon. Rand Nerds, face cam, there's no thing set up here. Apparently I had my GH5 set up here and a webcam set up here. I must have just been testing like what this thing could actually handle. And we're using something at 30 FPS. So it's at 30 FPS. It's got a caster 8K. So 8 megabits. That's high. That's high. Using the QuickSync, Intel QuickSync encoder, which you know, standard fare for this kind of thing, because it doesn't have a beefy GPU and the CPU's gutless. But so to do 1080 30, you really have to kind of push that onto a graphics card, unless you've got a bigger proc. What is 128? I mean, that's reasonable, other than no fucker will be able to watch it at 8 meg, but video 1080 and 30. And apparently it was capable of streaming and capturing. I do remember specifically, actually, that this machine used to have a seizure when you used to try and stream and open up a web browser. It would just instantly overload the encoder. I mean, it is capable of encoding a web camera, because I've got this derpy one. It's just like something like Ring Fit or something. Yeah, you can see like a web camera in the top corner. So I could do it, and the quality's alright. And that was kind of the point, to show that for these things are like $100. You can get one of these for $100. Keyboard and mouse, like, doesn't matter. You can buy like a dollar store keyboard and mouse. And I think the capture cards I had hooked up were, well, they're in my Linux bag. They're like literally little UVC devices that cost £10. Whilst they're not completely colour accurate, they're £10. Anyone that knows me would know that I usually jump up and down and shout and scream about colour accuracy and stuff like that. What the fuck, this is trash! If I'm paying like 50, 100, 200, you know, I want accurate. I want frames to be captured as they are intended, as they are displayed, right? I don't want any stupid jiggery pokery going on whereby colour is being dropped and all that kind of stuff. But for a tenner, I will let anything go for a tenner. With reason. But, but you know, a tenner. So, what I'm going to do is probably pull some of the data off this, put it onto a memory stick, nuke it, and put Fedora on there. Or Manjaro, or something. I don't know. Because I want to see if I can get the same groove on Linux. I should be able to. Just, I remember once upon a time it worked, this box specifically worked better on Windows than Linux. So just remember the settings we just had, and we'll see if we can replicate that. So that's all critical data copied onto this the pen drive, which is where the problem kind of lies. I've got billions and billions of pen drives and hard drives and things like that just scattered about. And I like the idea of keeping all of my files neat and tidy, but as I'm sure everyone knows, over time you find yourself with a nice collection of MISC 1, 2, 3 folders, new folder 1, new folder 2s, that kind of thing. Folders with folders of copies of other folders and all that kind of stuff, and it gets to be a bit of a state. See, I've got like 50 teras plus of data scattered around this house, and it's getting to be a bit of a chore keeping on top of it. That said, I mean, it'd be easy to store, that's an investment. Easy to organise, not so much, because there could be, as I say, like a billion T files in that amount of storage. But the thing is, when it comes to other stuff, I took this idea back in the day from Andy Sneap, Backstage, is it Backstage Productions? I don't remember now. Andy Sneap's a producer, record producer. He used to be the lead guitarist of one of my favourite childhood bands, Sabbath. He's produced tons of albums by tons of top high-end bands. Producers all around the world go to Andy for just stuff. Just like if you ever wanted to look up how stuff worked or tips and tricks to get stuff done, Andy and his forums were the way to go, right? And once upon a time, I remember seeing on his site, he would charge people. So if you went to the studio to record an album, part of his charge included a hard drive. And that's something I borrowed. When I'm doing something for someone else, part of my fee is a hard drive to store your data on. So if I'm filming something for someone, recording something for someone, if you're paying me, you're paying for a hard drive too, and then that data, only your data, goes on that drive. So if I've got an audio project going, it only lives on that drive, although the only data that will live on that drive is that project. Same with videos and all that kind of stuff. I wish I had the storage to do that with my own stuff, man, because I've just got too much fluff. Because you know that like all you have to do is to like deliver that project, work on that project, deliver that project, and you can archive that disc. Right? It's there. Just label it, put it in a hard case, which is what I do. I take the drives, put them in hard cases, and then I put them on a shelf. Right, or I tuck them in a box. But damn, I've got too much data to be able to do that for myself. I really wish I could. I've got an entire server array outside that doesn't fire up at the moment. There was an accident. Moving company dropped it, and I'm just too terrified to turn it on. There's an entire server rack outside, ready to just be populated with drives. No drives are in it at the moment. I could probably realistically store everything on that, but I'm just like, why can't I just have one project and be done with it? Why can't I just be like everyone else and have one drive and a cloud storage solution? Anyway, stop whining. Just making sure that there's... For my stuff, it's a shit show. For other people's stuff, I'll keep it top notch. I do find that just a little bit funny there. Are you screaming for help because you're installing Fedora 35? Or... The more I use Fedora, the more I like it, which is funny because the first Linux distro I ever used was Red Hat based, and I fucking hated it back in the early 2000s. Not Linux's fault, my fault, but yeah, just opened up the old software, the updates, so we've got some bits to do. I scroll down to the bottom and it's got device firmware, Optiplex 3040 system update. That's neat. And what does it include? Firmware updates to address security vulnerabilities, 2019 Intel Q1 QSR updates, just loads and loads and loads of just little bits that realistically make the machine better, more secure. How do you reckon it's just right there in system update? Beautiful. I do like the way it handles updates. Not so much how it installs software, but I do like how it handles updates. It's like Windows in that it requires a restart. Focus, come on. But it's neat because then that way nothing that you're using has a hissy fit as a package it was using, a dependency it was using has been updated, and you know, you just restart the machine and fingers crossed everything's gone. Focus, god damn it. There you go. Camera, are you drunk? Yeah, black screen, no contrast, not the best thing. Setup is complete. My playtime is complete. It's a state. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 devices worth of kit, 6 devices worth of kit, all just on the floor. But we're going to do a little test stream. mega budget Linux streaming, you've got no excuse kind of groove. With the exception of one part, but so I'm not being entirely fair, but cheapy for the most part. The guts of the rig are here, the little Optiplex mini thing, keyboard, mouse, wherever I've put it, there. Blue Yeti Nano microphone, and that's all coming around here. Nintendo Switch. That's going to a Genki dock. Doesn't matter if you have a Nintendo Switch or a console or whatever it is you're trying to stream, you'll have your own. Right, that comes through and round into this HDMI splitter. One part of the splitter goes to that little monitor on the floor, and the other part of it comes into this really cheapy, like 20 quid capture card. And if I just bring that back there, I've got to be honest, it's not fair. This is the not fair bit. This is an Elgato face camera. It's one of the most expensive arseholey web cameras on the planet. That's a hog. I don't know many computers I don't have any that really like that camera. When it works, it's great. On my rigs, hates it. It's a 1080p 60 camera, and it's running into the little box on the Linux. So if I go over here, voice cam, you can see me with the camera, and I've set it to 30 because I'm going to be streaming at 30. But what that means is I am hijacking a mental ass ton of bandwidth from the capture card. If that comes across as particularly stuttery, that's like a buffering issue or a bandwidth issue. But that does tend to clean up as time goes on. I was going to use, where did I put you? Well, there was a Logitech C920 here somewhere. I've got a couple more in this bag. That would be more sufficient for the budget part of it, because that camera I think cost more than like this this bit. So but yeah, just gonna do a little testy of the stream. I don't know what I'm gonna put on. Maybe a bit of Ease 9 on Switch. See how it goes. It should be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Admittedly as well, if you're a bit bugged by like frame rate, if when that goes a bit flaky you're not happy with it, you can literally just go, okay, we'll set it to 720, 720, 60, whatever, and you'll be good to go. It's just literally, that camera is a dick. I imagine if I plugged in the Logitech, things would be a little bit smoother. Just the same, because that has quite high system requirements. Well, I've had a fun day. Dude, you've barely moved. I know I have. Actually, I have. Because I was going to do a little live stream with the little box and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as I hit the go button, well, one, I made a bit of a boo-boo. I kind of forgot to configure. I changed the capture card over, and then I forgot to reconfigure the audio. So I went live with no audio for the game. So I had to stop, but then just as I stopped, my boys burst through the door with Grandma. So, but I've had fun all the same, because a random discovery I've got to throw out there. I'm impressed. I knew this box would be capable of doing the stuffs that I intend it to do. Just, I was curious as to how far things have gone. Because I've been doing this kind of stuff, like how low can you go with a live streaming rig for years? I had a dual PC set up years ago that was, what, 2 old business PCs, £100 each, and like a £150 graphics card in one of them to do the like gaming, and the other one was just doing raw encode, and like that was it. Like that was the whole thing. I had more powerful machines, but I was like, no, this is what you can do. It was like webcams and cheap lights and really cheap audio interfaces and cheap microphones. It was like, this is what you can do, and people watched it, and it was pretty solid. In fairness, people, as I keep saying to people, people wouldn't know if you didn't say. So it's always been kind of a fun little hobby of mine to just kind of squeeze every bit out of a piece of kit. And realistically, resolution isn't quality. Resolution isn't quality. You could have 4K and no presence. It's bollocks at the end of the day. Doesn't matter if you're at 480p, 4K, whatever, whether it be 60, 30, 120, 144, whatever. If you haven't got mic presence, if you haven't got that spark, that personality, resolution and all that ain't gonna save you. A crystal clear image is not going to save you. You've got to have presence to pull people in, and unfortunately I'm one of the poor souls that really doesn't have any presence. Now, things didn't quite work out how I thought they would, though. I was quite surprised at points. The cheapy capture cards, solid, not hugely reliable, but they are only about $10 each. We went through these. They're alright. I've used those before. Okay. The one that surprised me was, I remembered I had this as an AverMedia Live Gamer Mini or something like that. It's the successor to the Live Gamer Portable. And it's a USB 2 1080-60 capture card. Now, I hooked that up to here, and we were doing, I was playing Monster Hunter. Like, Monster Hunter isn't 60 FPS on the Nintendo Switch, it's 30, but motion and detail will choke an encoder, and it's a solid way to test. There's a little video at the start of Monster Hunter that I like to play. See if I got a clip that I can play. No, it's in home, isn't it? So, let's just pick like the last one. No, that's not the one. I pick one of the earlier ones, because I think these are the ones where I had the AverMedia hooked up. Right, it was dropping to about 50 FPS, and I was like, okay, so we'll drop the resolution, we'll drop the frame rate and all that kind of stuff, because you can do that, and the capture was dropping to about 50. Everything else just seemed solid. Now, I was like, okay, so that's the limit. I ain't going to be able to get 1080-60 out, but I'm sure it was smoother earlier, because earlier I'd also hooked up an Elgato HD 60S Plus to it. Same kind of groove. Oh, I've got my microphone on this. Let me just turn the audio off. This, being a more grunty capture card, was 60 solid the entire time. It was surprising because the HD 60S Plus is, of all of the cards in my little stack here, of USB capture at least, that's the one with the highest system requirements. But it was the one that took the least effort for the machine to drive. Now I do wonder if, because with the little cheapy ones, it's gone from motion JPEG and then having to do some work to get that processed. With the AverMedia, I believe that has an encoder chip on it, but I imagine the machine's having to do extra work because the software to use that encoder isn't available. Like, if you don't use the encoder, perhaps it's just having to do more grunt work to pull the video off. Plus, it was a USB 2 capture card. I was sure that would be okay. So as I say, when the frame rate dropped to like 50, I was like, that's weird. But then, honestly, hooking up that Elgato and seeing it sit at a locked 60, I was just like, what the hell is going on? Two 1080p, 60 devices, the capture card and the face cam. I was like, that's insane. Like, don't get me wrong, in high motion scenes it would fall apart, because of the graphics encoder and the low bit rate, but I was I did not expect that to happen at all. So, just to be sure, because as I said, Monster Hunter was only, what was it, 1080p 30, I believe, on the Switch. Frame rate and detail will trump an encoder every time. So you could like play Street Fighter at like 1440p on a live stream and it'd be fine, and then you could go to something like, I don't know, Halo, and watch it completely choke. You're like, at a lower resolution it would choke. And you're like, why? Is it because there's more motion, there's more detail, it's having to do more work to process the image? So I hooked up the PlayStation 5 to it, and I put on Astro's Playroom. And whilst not completely smooth, the encoder said that it was locked at 60, I would say that was perfectly serviceable. It looked pretty good, it sounded pretty good. The worst part of it, realistically, was that there was some occasional macro blocking, but as I say, the blockiness was literally down to there not being enough data, bandwidth, to build an image with all of the detail on screen. So, if you fire a lot of motion at a video encoder, if you don't supply it with enough bandwidth, data, megabits, the image will just kind of go all blocky and pixelated. It's just because it doesn't have enough data to construct the image that it's seeing. So it just kind of guesses and things go funny. I was really quite impressed. But, you know, it's funny because I pulled out this laptop earlier, the Lenovo X230, and on this laptop, it's a very, 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 very old laptop. Actually, let me just have a look to see when the X230 became a thing. I'm seeing YouTube videos and reviews of this thing from around 2012, right? This thing is old. On this laptop, I found videos from 2019 of me basically doing the exact same thing as I'm doing on that. So yeah, there you go. I don't know, you probably can't read that all that well, but yeah, it says 2019, there's YouTube guys that uploaded on 2019, yeah, 1st of June 2012, 2019, what the fuck am I on about? 2012, Jesus, is it really that old? Yeah, because it'd be third gen Ivy Bridge? Anyway, back to the laptop. I was basically doing the same thing on this. I have streamed off of this quite a bit, actually. This, and I've got a T430, which is the bigger version of this. Because I believe, actually, I was testing the VA API, the Video Accelerated API. At the time, once upon a time, not too long before 2019 or whenever it was, you used to have to just brute force encoding on Linux unless you had like an NVIDIA graphics card, because the NVIDIA graphics cards have video encoders on them, GPU encoding chips on them. So do AMD chips, Intel chips, but only NVIDIA's was accessible through Linux. Like directly, you could just click it in a drop down. Around I guess around the 2019 mark, VA API became a thing, which allowed you to use the Intel GPU and your AMD GPU, and I was testing them on this, and I've got footage of just dicking around in Monster Hunter World, like 72060, a bit of Street Fighter Third Strike, you know, and Halo, and I would say they look pretty solid. So what I'm getting at is, one, I like old technology, and two, if you have a machine from the last decade, you have no excuse when it comes to live streaming. None. Zero. Zip. Fuck all. Because you've got plenty of horsepower to at least bang out a 720p stream just using your processor, your CPU. If you've got access to VA API or QSV, QuickSync, which is the one that I was using on Windows, or the NVIDIA encoder or whatever, you're golden. You can go higher. If you've got dual channel RAM, you can go higher on stuff like QSV and that and VA API. 1080, 60. All it needed to get rid of the macro blocking was more data. Or a lower resolution. It's a balancing act. You either give it more bandwidth or a lower resolution to throw those bits into the thing. But, I mean, I was well chuffed. I've edited video on these for years. These ancient machines. 1080p video. Because people seem to get this crazy idea that by having newer hardware, that's what they need to make videos. That's what they need to live stream and stuff like that. They need the best. They need this. They need that. And it's not true. It's really not true, because how did we make videos before? How did we make high def videos before the high end stuff? How did we make films before all of this stuff? People didn't have, you know, red cameras, you know, 8K or 4K, 8K, you know, dual PC setup. Well, they did have dual PC setups. I mean, one of my first streaming rigs required something like 2 or 3 PCs and a mixing board, because like one machine wasn't powerful enough to take in all the video feeds. But whew, that was them were fun times. But like I said, if you've got a machine that's about a decade, you're good. If I can do it on Linux, you can do it on Windows a lot easier. I'd imagine the NVIDIA encoder, the Intel encoder is cleaner on Windows, but yeah, I was well surprised. I was well surprised. If you've got hardware, no excuses. Just get out there and do it and have fun. There will be some stuff this old hardware just can't do. Can't do VR. I wouldn't really like to do 3D graphics work on these little machines if I had a dedicated GPU, like in my little Linux gaming box that's down the side. There, the little business PC with like a 1050 Ti or a 1650 Ti on it, 1650, and it's not 1650 Ti. That would be fine for 3D graphics work, but you can do it. So basically, the idea is I wanted to see how it had improved. I mean, it has improved, because when I last tried to use this AVerMedia card on Linux, you couldn't actually change any of the settings on it. It would use it, but it would just give you a default kind of output. Now you can, the stuff has been optimized and tweaked, and you can actually go in and change the resolution, change the frame rate, and all that. Fantastic! It's just getting better and better and easier as time goes on. It's just top notch. So I want to get one of these little machines and potentially put it into the wife's studio. She doesn't need to be able to do 1080, 60 and process overlays and like multiple cameras and have it all going at such high frame rates and such high bit rates and such high resolutions. But to be able to just kind of stress test it and see that it works means that she could realistically have a couple of cameras hooked up and all that, because she's just going to be doing arty stuff. Give her a microphone, give her a couple of cameras, and she can switch between in a box that's basically a couple DVD cases stacked. Fantastic. And like I said, just to be able to see how far it's come. That's fucking brilliant. $100 will get you a machine like this. Or if you've got like an old 2012 or newer Mac, you're good to go. Or a Windows, one of those machines with Windows on it, you are definitely good to go, because you've got access to all the proprietary software for the video encoders. Mate, amazeballs. And you can get microphones and interfaces for $20–30 these days. Give it a go. Give it a go. Get in there, get going, hook stuff up, play. I've had fun. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going. If anyone would like some help on getting an older rig, lower power rig, to get a image out of it, go for it. But just remember, resolution that's not the be all and end all. Make sure you got your audio sorted. Make sure you can push just enough bandwidth to fill that resolution bucket that you've got, and you are good to the go. Hope you're well. I'll see you all, with a bit of luck, in the next one. This was way too long-winded for what I was talking about. Good luck. Oh wait, you've already got to the end, maybe, possibly.